Chapter 70. Power and Resistance. Says the now contented Cyrenius, "Lord, you are able to see into my heart only too clearly anyway, and through my brain too, as to whether I have grasped the thing fully or only by half. I feel that the thing is now as clear to me as the sun at noon. But there could still be depth upon to depth behind it that may never have occurred yet to even the most perfect angelic spirit. I am nevertheless satisfied with what I know now, and shall have enough to nibble on for the rest of my life. Because this far exceeds human horizons of knowledge and insight already. Only one being is still a puzzle to me, and that is Satan and his cohorts. Just a revealing word about that still, O Lord, and my soul shall be satisfied until my physical death, because I am still not quite in the clear about that. What and who is Satan, and who his helpers is helpers, called devils? Say I. This too is a trifle premature for your comprehension from its foundation. But I shall try to give you and the others some light on this point, also to the limit of your understanding. And thus, hearken unto me. Behold, everything that there is, that exists, and that has any existence, cannot exist, be, or has any existence otherwise than by a certain continuous battle. Every existence, the divine not excluded, contains in itself a lot of opposites, as denying and affirming, which always stand against each other like cold and warmth, darkness and light, hard and soft, bitter and sweet, heavy and light, narrow and wide, broad and narrow, high and low, hatred and love, evil and good, right and wrong, and lie and truth. No force can have any effect without an opposing force. Take, for instance, a 1,000-fold Goliath of a man, whose power could certainly take on an army of warriors. What good his power, however, if one stood him into the air like the clouds of heaven? Behold, a breeze, here on earth, so feeble as to hardly set a leaf in motion, would, in spite of all his power, push him unstoppably in the direction of the breeze. In order for the giant to make effective use of his strength, he firstly needs solid ground for a foundation to act. Hence the ground itself is already a counterpoint to our giant, because for exercising of his strength, free movement coupled to a steadfast foundation is needed. Where he enters into union with the solid rest of the foundation, to then, in combination with the strength of the resting foundation or ground on which he stands, opposes every confrontational movement. Only then can the giant make proper use of his strength. If the ground is a rock, then no antagonistic force shall prevail against such solid rest, unless the force is more hefty than the rock's concentrated rest. But if the ground is soft, and hence less counteractive than the giant's storm-like capacity to move, the giant's strength shall not find enough resistance in the ground counteracting him, and he will only be able to resist a much smaller force confronting him. For superficial clarity, let us assume that our giant has upon solid ground sufficient strength to lift 1,000 people. But put him in a bog with hardly enough firmness to just carry the giant on his own. Let the giant lift the weight of just 100 or even 10 people, and he shall certainly not get it off the ground. For the moment he begins to conquer the weight, he shall begin to sink into the soft ground, and all his strength shall be useless, since he has no counterforce underneath him. Hence, no power can effect anything on its own, if it does not unite with an, as it were, opposing, warring one. With our giant, the solid rest of the ground obviously fights his weight and movement, and also vanquishes same to a certain degree. And this ground-warring victory of rest is in the end also the support of the moving force, and also a measure of the force.